Hi. It's a new house. It's a new dark house. But it actually looks surprisingly light around the edges there. Don't know what that's about. We are also starting a new album, which is exciting. It's going to be the next AURORA album, obviously, which is step 2, A Different Kind of Human. And what was the first single from A Different Kind of Human? Y'all know. It was Animal. And yeah, this is what we have. Now, one thing about this is, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but the artwork here, to me, reads like an old-fashioned Japanese kind of drawing. I could be wrong, but that's what I get from it. And well, there is potentially a something in the pentatonic nature of this song that sort of associates itself with, let's say, Far Eastern folk music. But yeah, it's not absolutely something I'm very clear on anyway, so I'm not going to talk very much about that, but I will at least mention it if it is, you know, absolutely very, very clear. But let's get into it, shall we? Yeah, A flat Dorian. That's that scale. No, it's not. Sorry, I was playing without direct on there. So that's A flat major. And then A flat Dorian has this note and that note. Okay, so those are our notes. But also E flat aeolian. It's the same notes, it's just based around a different tonal center. So here, there's our A flat tonal center. Because of this note in particular, it has quite a different kind of feel to it. Whereas if we're here, because of this note, it feels different to the other one. When played in quick succession like that, it feels more like chord changes than it does tonal center changes. We'd have to weight quite heavily on either of those to make it feel more like a tonal center. But let's see how that actually happens in the piece. Short old intro to this one. Here it is. It's actually very simple. It's really just 2 main things. There might be a little bit of a chord pad in the background, but it's not very clear. The main thing that we get is these big triple octaves doing, yes, it was C flats, isn't it? Oh, interesting, C flats. Yes, that is what we'd expect. Doing those. Boink, boink, boink. Very bouncy sound. And then those ones too. And then finally lower. Oh. Okay. So those plinky plonkies are doing arpeggios and they are spelling out these chords. The first one, the second one, and the third one. And then we wait there for a bit on that one. That's well, it's a C flat chord or a B chord, then the D flat chord, and then an A flat minor chord. So the first 2 are major, starting with those two major chords right next to each other, has this really bright, whoa, where are we going kind of feel, and then, oh, coming down to this one feels a little bit like a, oh, but this is what roots us in our A flat minor Dorian kind of feel. Something like that. Okay, so because we've got this chord followed by this chord with that bright feeling, followed by this chord as a kind of weighted end chord with twice as much time over it, it feels like Dorian mode. If we'd moved on from there and we'd gone to E minor, then it might be a bit more, sorry, E flat minor, then it might be a bit more ambiguous what's going on. Something like that, it's not quite as clear where the one is, where the rest chord is. But as it is, a rest chord takes up twice as much time, feels quite restful at the end there. But that's not quite all that's happening in the harmony. We've got these strange extra notes. So as well as we've got a D flat in there, this one. And then this one added here. Then we get that all fine. But then we get another D flat added. Added notes to these chords. So this one with that. Okay, and added 9. Well, we were getting these in the previous track actually. We were getting these in inflections of a different kind. Sus2s, or really here it's slightly different because we get the whole chord, but we also get that added note, so it's an add 9 is what that's known as. Another one here slightly takes a longer time to get that note in there, but it nonetheless is that. This one then adds that note, which is a little bit different. That's adding the 11th to this chord. Okay, so we have two add 9 chords, and then we have one 11 chord, add 11 chord. So these are extended chords, and they're not the most common thing for Aurora to do. It's not normally that we just add in extra notes in these chords, so that's a little bit unusual for an intro. It sounds very different texturally to a lot that we've heard as well, but yeah, even on the basic harmonic side, there's some strangeness. Also, we just get this, which is just an extra thing on top of this last chord. Okay, it's sort of adding that 7th to the chord. That's the 4th note of the chord, so that's not too odd. We get that from time to time, and then it goes to the 1 of the chord. So really comfortable little melisma there. Nothing to write home about. What about the verse? Oh, no, not that.
You are the victim of my love. I dangle upon rooftops before I push you off.
That's a fun noise, isn't it? All the way up there, coming in at the end of each of those 4-bar bits. Okay, well, the chord sequence here, same as it was. We don't have the bum 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 anymore, but we still have a C flat in the bass giving us that low note, a D flat, and then an A flat. Okay, so those are still happening, and still with the added note actually. That D flat. And it sort of more adds the added 9 in this chord rather than that 4. So a little bit of a change up there, just on the end. Yeah, but otherwise same chord sequence as before. Yes, I think we also have an A going through all of that, which kind of makes this C a little less comfortable. It makes it maybe feel more like an A flat chord. What do you think? All of those notes? And chords sound like. They don't have the same amount of notes as the previous one, because the previous one, bum, 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 that really spelled out the chord. And here we don't have that. Sometimes we have the full complement of notes. Actually, no, we never have the full complement of the notes. So here it feels more like sustaining dissonance rather than adding notes to the chord. Okay, it's a bit of a subtle distinction, but it's there nonetheless. The melody, though, this is giving us some extra stuff. You are the victim of my love. This is an interesting one. The melody really comes hard on maybe the strangest note on that first chord. You are. And that's the F. Now, okay, so we're in Dorian mode, and we always think of two notes in these modes which are particularly emotive. And in Dorian mode, it's the third and the major sixth, the minor third and the major sixth. Okay, so those two, and they actually come together here. This is rare. This doesn't happen much in music anyway. You know, broadly, I mean, it does happen in a fair amount, but yeah, it's odd to get them together here. Aurora doesn't do it very often. There's maybe been a few songs where, just a few, like Murder Song, for instance, has something with these two notes in. But it's rare, and that's what we're getting here, straight out of the gate, 7 seconds in. Now, this kind of changes the feel of the chord quite a lot, because we've got that D flat in there as well, and the D flat goes much nicer with the F there. If it was just those two, really comfortable. But it's not. We've got that C flat, big strong C flat in the bass. Okay, so that makes it feel still kind of like a D flat major chord. Okay, but with a C flat in the bass, so like the fourth note of the chord, that seventh, is in the bass, making this big distinction, pulling in one direction very strongly that the other part is not going to. However, that holds for a beat and a half, and then it goes down to the E flat, and the E flat works much better with the C. So we get this strong dissonance, and then it disappears. And then by the time we get it, the same melody again, we've moved on. Now it does have a D flat in the bass. Okay, so here it doesn't quite work in the same kind of way. That F feels much more comfortable, and then it comes down to the E flat, and that's just more of that sustained second that we've actually got in the accompaniment anyway. So that first chord feels very nice and strong and complex, but then this next one feels a little more comfortable, a little more open, and then as we get to this last one, which is our well, we don't have everything there, do we? We have A flat and B flat, and we have this. Now this by itself sounds a little stark, a little confrontational, by the end, arguably it still does, but that's just our sus2 chord, okay? So it's not our add 9 chord, which, as we experienced briefly in the previous track, those minor add 9 chords feel very tense and very in your face. This doesn't really have that. There's a starkness to it because we're getting this second interval, not super comfortable, and then we've got this seventh over the top. But then that just walks down by scalic movement with a little melisma as well, and then up for love. Yeah, melismas here are being treated in a slightly different way to normal in Aurora's music, because we're having kind of melismas a lot of the time. You has a melisma, has a melisma, the has a melisma, victim doesn't, but it does take up more of the bar, so, you know, swings and roundabouts there. The does. victim. Okay, so we got one on the last syllable of Tim there. Of my love. Love does, but of my don't. Normally we have sort of a melismatic section, or we emphasize individual specific words with melismas. But here we've got them much more commonly. This might be, of course, a way to deal with scansion problems, because if you don't have that many words, you need to make them spread out over a certain amount of space. That said, yeah, we do kind of treat things slightly differently in other verses. We'll see that. Actually, we have seen the next one, haven't we? I dangle. So I still has a melisma there. Up on roof. Roof of rooftops has one. Before I push you off. Well, there, before I push. We've still actually got the same amount of syllables, the victim of before I push, but in the first one we got melismas and in the second one we didn't. Interesting. Why? Maybe to make the words slightly clearer in that second half, because in the first half we have victim 2 times, so we don't necessarily need to make both of them as clear as day to actually hear, whereas the second time we have more concepts. We have the dangling, the rooftops, the before, and the push, I guess, and the you, or whatever. You know, we could apportion them in loads of different ways. But here, because that second half of the line is different to the first one, we need more clarity to those words. So that might be a reason why we don't have so many melismas in that section. But we do still have the last one. Of. And that's fun because, like, the of works kind of, well, it does work with both of those notes, but with the B flat, which is held as the second here, again, it makes more of that triad than it does of this one. This one, a little bit emotionless, not so clear. This, yeah, it's got a bit more to it. And again, we're going from that being the consonant place against the bass to going more to where arguably more to where the bass note makes sense, with a perfect fifth there rather than the fourth. Okay, fight me on that. I'll happily have a debate about that. The only other thing is this. I did it well earlier. It's gone now, but that's basically the only thing, which is this note, and it slightly slides up towards the end, giving us a really strong D. Now we do have one of those in the first section, but it's slightly later here, and the second time everything else drops out and we just get that noise. It's in key, it's just very high in comparison to everything else. Not much to say about it really, but it's a fun noise. Okay, pre-chorus.
Stand on the headlights, looking for a corner where I can be found, where the goddess in my right eye, watching every lover on the battleground.
Quite a big textural change between these two sections, and the melody does a very different thing as well. We've been down on these these low kind of main modal voice parts of Aurora's singing, and now we're just up in this floaty, brassy falsetto. I stand at the headlights until found, can't be found. Those are a little lower, okay, but this is the most sort of I don't know, it seems unfair to say it's Orientalist, but it it does seem you could make connections to more Chinese trope music, which I'm not going to play, but it exists. It's very pentatonic, this, so it's very different to the previous section. The previous section was much more stepwise, and we had that emphasis on one of those money notes. Okay, right, on that F there. Here we don't have any of those. We're making big jumps, so that's something that's more interesting. Yeah, lots of fourths. Jumping down and jumping back up, and then 1/5 at the end. It's also much more syllabic, lots more words, lots fewer. What's the word, man? Lots fewer melismas. We get stand, but that's the only one we get. We do get a pause on lights and a pause on found, and they're quite evenly spaced, so that's nice. Did we go on from here? Man, my memory. Yeah, we did. So, very similar thing in the next line. But we come to the top E flat a little bit earlier. So it's not I stand. And so we're stand on the beat. This is with a goddess. So we come to that top one as we hit the next bar. And we come straight down. Whereas stand at the, we had stand and at the top. This is just goddess, and then it comes down. In my right, a little bit of melisma. Right eye, watching every lover on the battleground. Arguably slightly different rhythms there. But yeah, it's very pentatonic. In fact, we don't even get the whole of the pentatonic scale. We're missing, we're missing the G flats or the F, depending on which pentatonic scale it is. But if we want to think of it as A flat, we would expect to have that C flat in there, but interestingly we don't. So maybe this has moved away from that A flat sort of root now, and let's have a look at the harmony. Oh yes. Well, we still get the C flat, and we still get the D flat, though much more of all the notes of the chords here, which is nice. But then we don't go down to the A flat anymore. We go to the E minor, E flat minor. Okay. So we have the C flat, the D flat with an added G flat, and then we get our E flat minor. Okay, so this is a 6, 7, 8 in a classic minor or an aeolian mode. We've had these before, not in this order normally for Aurora, although this has come up definitely. I can't quite remember which one it is now. Oh, it's it happened quiet, isn't it? So we go. Although that has the key change there, doesn't it? So it doesn't go back to the 1. Yeah, this is 6, 7, 1, and this is also in Soft Universe. I can never work out what note it comes in on the melody here. With love in your heart. Okay, so Soft Universe does use these chords in this particular order, as does Kate Bush and lots of people. Here's a song just out of the blue, The Three Great Alabama Icons by Drive-By Truckers. That's a powerful song. Go and have a listen to that. It's got this chord sequence going through the whole thing. Very powerful chord sequence. Really, every chord has 3 notes different from the previous one. So that makes a big change. That said, when we go from the 1 back to the 6, it's actually only 1 note changing. It's from this one to this one. These two stay the same. Okay. Anyway, so over those, it's sort of suggesting that actually E flat minor is our new home. Okay, we wait on it in the same way as we waited on the A flat minor in the previous bit. Yeah, and that would make sense with the new pentatonic. But like I say, only 4 notes. We're missing the 5th note, which probably would be this one, because the F would be a little too exciting. But we don't get it anyway. We keep this even plainer than usual, this melody. Very straightforward, except for the jumps. How does it fit with the chords? Stand. Well, we start there with a note that's not quite in the chord, so that's nice. As the headlights. And then an anticipation. Both head and lights are anticipations of that next chord. Looking for a corner where I can be found. Now, corner where all of those fit just fine. Can't is the only one that doesn't really. Be found do really well. So a couple of anticipations. Look is arguably an anticipation too. It's not in the chord. Looking for a corner where I can be found. You see? So mostly we're doing anticipations here, and we're doing chordal notes. We have a couple of exceptions though. Yeah, in the harmony we do have that added note, this one here. Now this is the add 11, but it's to a major chord. Before, when we had the A minor, we had an add 11, but it's a minor add 11. So there's a big distance between the 3rd and the 11 and the 4. But in a major chord, the 4 is right next to the 3. So that's quite a powerful chord to have just held there before it then resolves into the next chord. Interesting one. We don't normally get a held dissonance like that in the chord. We've also got a piano melody over the top here, which sort of is different each time, but it, yeah, it's mainly the same. And it, right? That kind of stuff comes through in the accompaniment just for the build up to the chorus. So it's giving us a mixture of chord notes and not, and this is because it's more focused on its own motif, which is this kind of da 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 da. Okay, and that happens slightly differently each time. The first time we don't get the first bit, we don't get ba da, we get da da, so we come from a different note. But then we come B flat, A flat, E flat, and then F. The next time, B flat, B flat, A flat, E flat, G flat. So we don't go to the F the next time, and then we get most of it that last time, and then we sort of turn it round to some degree. We go up from the E flat to the A flat, and then the B flat. So it slightly changes that in that fourth bar. Yeah, so it's not cohering. It's not making sense with the chord per se. There is one note that does, and it's that note that we get at the beginning of the bar. So da 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 da. The F there makes sense. Da da, and that one does as well. Otherwise, it's sort of whether or not these notes fit the chord is coincidental. It's an octave higher than the melody as well, so they're not really getting in the way. Not a whole octave, I suppose. They are sort of touching on that E flat, although I don't think it ever happens at the same time, so arguably they're not touching. That, I guess, is why we don't get it at the beginning, because at the beginning, stand, if we had it there, they would overlap, and so they've changed the note there to get out of the way. That's pretty clever. Anyway, chorus. I feel like I'm taking quite a long time over this one.
Hunting for love.
Good. I really like this song. I think it has its detractors, but really good. So let's just talk about the accompaniment. Again, a big shift of texture. And here we've got basically a chord, a big chord in a rhythm. This rhythm. Okay, it's our clave again, which has turned out not to be some clave or rumba clave, but is closer, I guess, to the Bo Diddley clave, but it's not even that. It's 3 3 3 3 2 2 3 3 3 3 2 2. Okay, and it's happened before. I think Queendom is the main one where this happens, but Gentle Earthquakes as well. Probably Forgotten Love as well. So yeah, so it's come back. Ba, 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 ba. Ba, 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 ba. Ba, 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 ba. What do you notice about these chords? They're kind of strange, aren't they? They're rattly. That's just my keyboard. Each of them have got added notes to them. This one's a slightly strange one. It's a C flat 6 chord. We don't get many of these at all in Aurora's music for one reason or another. But here it is. It's a 6 chord. It's an added 6, or added 13 if you feel so inclined. Most people don't think of it that way. This D flat chord again has that G flat added, so it's that add 11 chord. That interesting dissonance there between the F and the G flat. Now this one, you could argue it's a B flat chord, and that is how I hear it, a B flat minor chord, so it's the 5 of the key, first time we've heard it. Or you could see it as more of a G flat major chord with a B in the bass. It's a little ambiguous, and it's that dissonance that is giving this that ambiguity when it's not really clear which one of those is strongest. Maybe it will become clearer when we think about the melody. But anyway, we've got that one. It's either a 3 in this key or a 5, and then this is a curious one. We've not got the 5 in the chord, but we do have the add 11 again. And this is a minor, E flat minor add 11. So we've sort of gone 6, but with a 6 added to it. 7, but with a 4 added to it. 5, but with a minor 13 added to it. Not nice. Or 3 with a major 7. So that makes more sense, but it's in first inversion, so either way, ambiguous. And then a 1 with another 11 added to it. So lots of extended chords, and extended in a little bit of a different way to any other songs that we've come across in Aurora's music so far. And then we've got the melody. Now I laboured over this for quite a while, trying to decide if it was or if it was right. Do you hear the difference? And that I'm putting too much effort on that because I'm not a good pianist, but or what's the difference? It's one note, hunting, or hunting, you're hunting for love. And so I slowed it down, and I found that more or less it's this one and not this one, which would make it a B double flat, which is nice. Maybe we should have thought of this in G sharp minor instead of A flat minor. That might have made more sense, but it's in E flat minor, so maybe we should have thought of it in D sharp minor, D sharp, E sharp, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B. Yeah, okay, D sharp minor is sort of legitimate, isn't it? Oh, I guess it's, yeah, because it's 6 sharps, so that makes sense. So we could have thought of it in that way, but I chose to go with the more flat key instead. So either this is a B double flat or it's an A, doesn't matter. Anyway, what is more important about it is that it is an out of key note. Now, we haven't had many of these since the first album, It's a blues note. It's a slight flattening of a note that would otherwise be in the key, and we've got it in the same kind of place that we would normally get it, which is in a melisma, in a quick melisma. Haunting, rather than haunting, haunting, haunting. If we went all the way up, then it would sound maybe a little too bright, a little less realistic. But haunting, haunting sounds a little more appropriate, don't you think? You're haunting for love. Cool. Anyway, that's that bit of the melody talked about. Little moment of fun. Then we have what's killing for pleasure. Well, that's a 9th jump from this do low D flat all the way up to this E flat up here. That's unexpected, rare. Doing a jump over an octave is super rare. They do happen. I can't think of any right now though. They occasionally happen just through strange prosody. So, for instance, Jack White from the White Stripes often just jumps from, like, you know, he'll be down and then he'll go up really high all of a sudden. I think in Affecting Chords, the last White Stripes song, there's a few moments where he's like, you want to invent a contraption. But then just before that, he's been, I guess, right, and so he's just doing these big slides in the voice, and it's not explicitly melodic. He's not like jumping down to get that low note and then go up. It's much more sort of abstract, joining the dots. Whereas here, killing for pleasure is really clear that we get those two low notes, that one up there, straight afterwards. Okay, it's this very clean jump of a 9th, big jump. Yeah, not very common in a melody at all. And then that's another 4th. So altogether, this is a big lot of jumps just in that one bit of phrase. In Hunting for Love, that's all, well, it's pentatonic with a blues note. Okay, nothing wrong with that, straightforward. And then we just get this crazy second phrase. Cool though, really nice. And then our triads are back, finally. Back for the next album. Nothing wrong with those. All working together. Again with our triplet rhythm, but this one is not da 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 da. Sorry, it's not da 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 da. This is cutting it in half. So it's 3 3 2 3 3 2. Da 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 da. And then that last one overlaps the bar, which is fun. So this is our sort of 5 chord. This one. And then it changes. And so that's just a moment where it doesn't match the chord there as we go over, which is nice. If I am alone. Well, for if there, it's definitely on that B flat. It's not if I am alone. If I am alone. We have that higher one. Very similar otherwise. Comes in slightly later, but very, very similar. We get the slide in the same place. All the same notes in the same order, just missing that first one. But then this next phrase unexpectedly doesn't go make me a stranger with that 9th jump. It goes make me a stranger. Why? This one is just an octave. Why would he not have both of them as an octave or both of them as 9th? I don't understand it. It's unnecessarily complicated. But, you know, the D flat is kind of an odd one because we're on that C flat chord. So getting killing maybe feels in a roundabout way like a bit of a conflict. So maybe specifically for that word, we've gone for an out of chord note, Whereas for make me, we don't need that, do we? We're not trying to draw attention to it. Make me. So we don't have that one. We have make me, which fits with the chord. That's at least the best example, or the best reasoning I can come up with for that. But we do have an out of chord note here, and it's this harmony note. We've gone back down to only 2 voices. Just before we were only 1 voice again. So jumping in and out of harmonies here, which is interesting. Okay, we've got this B flat here. It's a C flat chord. That B flat is the 7th, but we've also got the 6th in from the accompanying chord. So this is quite an intense selection of notes. Make me a stranger. It also jumps up, but just a 6th, not as big as the lower one. And they go to thirds there, and then fourths. So we get classic interplay that we get in a lot of Aurora songs. Weirdly, this last Concrete Jungle, the top voice doesn't resolve down. Lost in a concrete jungle. It just stays on that top note. No idea really why. It only adds the 7th to the next chord. Maybe just so it's easier to do the hele in the right place. Hele! Because we go back to that chord there, which is fun, because at that point, we've gone from matching the chord for lost in a concrete jar, not quite matching the chord, mostly matching the chord, but then we go back to the previous. Okay, so we've got that chord going through the accompaniment, dun, 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 dun. And then this is jungle. Hello. So we get all of that complexity for a moment there. Hello. Yeah, fun. Let's move on. Yeah, there are other things going on from time to time here. Yeah, we have this kind of melody. In the second version, I think. Do we? No, that's not come up. Yes, it has. It has that. So if I am alone, we get this kind of thing, but it's actually kind of hard to hear it come through. But nonetheless, it seems to be there. Okay, and then we get our second part of the chorus. Sorry for all the creaking. I'm on the drum stool today. Yeah. So different melody altogether, very different melody here, but it comes in later, doesn't it? We get the hunting back again. Hunting for love, killing for pleasure. And that time we do again have the low D flat. Killing for, and then going all the way up. Lost in a concrete jungle, LA. Does exactly the same thing. So we get that held on. Jungle. It's okay. But let's talk about this other melody. We've still got the same chords underneath, by the way, which I didn't mention, but it has gone from a 3-chord sequence that we've had in most of these things, 3 chords over 4 bars. Now it's 4 chords over 4 bars. And that does have a different feeling to it. It's got a little more action to it. We're constantly moving. So it's better for this up-tempo feeling to have constantly moving chords like that. And that's probably why it's so ubiquitous in popular music. This chord sequence, I think, sounds worse with that extra 5 chord in there, doesn't it? Before the 1 chord. Whatever, doesn't matter. I'm an animal. Not what we get this time. I'm an animal. Okay, so the weirdest thing about this song is when we get notes that we have had in one way previously and they are no longer that way this time. And I'm an Animal is the biggest culprit to this, for this. Okay, here, nice pentatonic melody. I'm an animal. So we get the G flat. Remember that. Animal. Okay, that's what we get this time. Okay, nothing wrong with that. All straightforward pentatonic stuff. It's in the chord, whereas aren't. So nice that it comes to rest there. Anticipation there, although we do go down to a non-chord note, but just as a flick at the end of the notes. We've had those before. Okay, so we get the G flat again here, but this one doesn't go so well with the chord. It's that added note that we've been thinking about, that added minor 13 that makes this chord a bit ambiguous. Animal. Okay, and there it sort of works as an anticipation, but not really. Okay, and then hunting for love is actually different here, isn't it? It's not you're hunting for love, it's hunting for love. So we get a little bit of augmentation to the rhythm. It's a longer phrase and it's given more space, and so it just has this more grand feel to it this last time, and it's higher as well, and it goes all the way down, all just joined from the top E flat down to the low E flat, and then lower for kill. Nice one. We've got harmonies over there as well, so animal doesn't the first time, but then the last time we get a mixture of fourths and fifths, our favourite concoction. And then we get very similar kind of thing for hunting for love as well. More fourths than we might expect, especially when we come to love. That's a little bit of an odd one. And then killing. Well, that note is in the key, so if we were, in the chord. If we went down to the F, killing, might sound more like that beginning. But we don't have that here. Yeah, that's that. Anyway, cool. Very, very interesting how we just go for like 3 totally different ways of doing things in that that melody at the beginning of the chorus here. Hunting for love. Cool. That's fine. Some stepwise pentatonic stuff. Killing for pleasure. Well, it's pentatonic, but it's got huge jumps in it. Lost in a concrete jungle. Just 2 notes. And very, very strictly rhythmic. Yeah, interesting. And then I'm an animal, I guess, sort of is more like hunting for love. It's mostly the same notes, but it goes in this upwards contour. You know, it's like climbing a mountain with a brief fall at the end. Very different to the other stuff. Yeah. It's an onslaught of different sounds. I am a big fan. Isolation.
Makes me hungry. Will you stay here till I sleep?
Let's stop there. We've got our back in as well, haven't we? That's nice. But yeah, we've still got these extended chords in this. This first one especially, it just has that big feeling of 2 chords stacked on top of each other. And that is more clear now because we've got the over the top. So we've got that over. So there's a big dissonance or a big fight between the do and the do do do. Yeah, fun, really nice. Let's keep going.
You'll return home in the morning, but you never really leave.
There again. Yeah, we have these kind of, sorry, I didn't mention these here. Will you stay? We have these strange harmonies, which are not quite exactly with the main melody. So, stay here till I sleep. That's the melody, and they're moving word at the same time, but they are moving a bit more. So we get, that's our melody basically, and we get with that, okay? So it moves, stay till I sleep. It moves separately to begin with, and it moves up while Aurora moves down, and that's in an octave actually. They start right next to each other, and then they get right next to each other in the opposite direction. So these are the top two close, stay, stay, and then here it's stay, here and here next to each other. So it's strange how they're interacting there. They do end up quite nicely fifths apart, which is quite a strong way of doing things. I haven't actually put in when this happens. I think it's with this lower one. So we get never really leave, but it could actually be with the higher one. I'm not sure. Why not? Let's go back and listen, work out where it is. Yeah, no, it is there, isn't it?
Makes me hungry. Will you stay here till I sleep?
Can you hear that? So just on that A flat minor, giving that F for a brief moment, but just a simple addition really. We get a strange harmony on in the morning. In the morning is with in the morning. So again, they get in the way of each other a little bit. That's fine. So they have this moment where they don't match. It's interesting. The harmony parts, I would say, on this album feel a little less restricted by what the main vocal does, while still having this intrinsic connection. It's curiosity. And then never really leave is basically the same, although interestingly we haven't got leave and sleep like we got off and love. We haven't got that melisma here. It's more clean. We've got one vocal which does basically the same thing as the melody there, but we've still got the never really, and then it does something different. Never really leave this time, going up and fitting in between really and really, really leave, jumping down there. I'm not sure that that's actually the line, but that seems to be what the harmonies going on there are doing. We've got this kind of dip, dip, dip at the end as well, but that's not a big deal. Okay, yes. Okay, and then we've got our next pre-chorus. Oh, no, come on. Here we go. I don't know if it's just that Aurora is doing more or if it's that I have more to say, but it feels like on the previous album and the first album, and certainly I could just skip over a few sections because they were doing the same thing as the previous ones. But here the harmony vocals are just different every single time. I Keep the Memories Alive is different, isn't it? The melody is basically the same, although we go raise alive, so we don't jump raise alive. No, raise alive. We do pentatonic stepping up there. The weight, so we have an anticipation note there as well, or an extra note is what I meant. Felt so divine. Da da da. There's our rhythm again. Interesting how we didn't really get that the first set of times, but we get it both times here. They're kind of in sixths, and then fifths. Now, I mean, if thirds and fourths are our main bread and butter harmonies that we get here between vocals, fifths and sixths are their inversions. If you take an F and an A flat, and you make the A flat not the higher one but the lower one, you've gone from a third to a sixth. Okay, because they're further apart but they're still the same notes, so it makes a bigger interval, and it sounds very similar, but it's not quite the same. There's the beginning of Dyson D Noctimittis, maybe. Have a look it up, it's a good one. Yeah, a fifth is an inverted fourth. If we take an F and a B flat, that's a fourth this way, but if we move the B flat down, it's a fifth. Fourth, fifth. Okay, again, really similar sound, just more spread apart. So that's what's going on here. They're more spread apart than normal, apart from when we get down to divine, where they go closer together. Because going so divine might be a little bit extravagant, going down to that low G flat. And then with a goddess in my right eye, we get the whisperings of a higher harmony as well. There, we've gone back to the jump right eye. But yeah, it's really similar. It's just got that higher harmony as well. So we get at the end. And the piano melody here is pretty similar. Yeah, it does have the E at the beginning, and there you go. It has the E at the beginning, and it doesn't get in the way of I keep the memories alive. So nice, interesting. That's an interesting thing to have done. Okay, then we do have some similarities. Hunting for Love is the same. If I Am Alone is the same. Do we have anything extra in the bass that I've forgotten about? Yes, although I've just remembered we have something I've forgotten about in the other section as well. Sorry about that. Yeah, all right, let's have a listen to it. Yeah. That's all it is. So it's just these octaves on a piano, and they're just there for that first bit. Just a little bit of extra colour. They're not really changing the chords. That fits very nicely. That's a little bit unusual, but that's the sixth that we've already got in this one. And then maybe an anticipation note there. Again, this is the duality in this one between the third and the added 11th. So it's adding what we've already got. Now, what I forgot about in the second part of the chorus is this counter melody that comes in on I'm an animal. There's a doo 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 that comes in, okay, and it goes. Right, so it basically just has these two bits. Okay, and they fit quite nicely with the chord, although it starts on an F and we're on an E flat minor. But then it resolves by the time we get to its long note. So it's a nice little counter melody, just filling up extra time, although it is not strict counter melody because it's happening at the same time as Aurora's melody. So that's annoying. You know, you could plan things to go in the gaps, but she doesn't do that, at least at this point. Okay, and then yeah, I'm an Animal is also the same this second time. So that's nice. We don't need to go over that. Although we do, I think, and again, I've not written it in. I need to slap myself on the wrist here. But I think this comes in this second time. So let's just skip ahead to that. What time code do we want? 152. Yeah. So this is just a little extra extra texture, really, and stays the same depending not on which chord it is. Well, actually, has a slightly different feel to it over that E chord, but they're very similar pentatonic things, all based on the black keys. Yeah. And that is, I guess, the counter melody to the do do do, because it's mainly happening in the places where that's not doing much. Maybe you could argue that at least. Okay, all right. So let's jump towards this last bit then. Last bit? Last bit? Don't be ridiculous. Here we are. Let's just cover that for a moment. I become We've got these main two different melodies, and they overlap a little bit, but they are sort of in different moments. I become comes with I become, and they sort of become one, which is a nice thing. That happens a few times, just at the end of the bar, and then we get the other harmonies. That's a nice one. The way those work together, and that's kind of in thirds, then kind of fourths, with that higher note sticking out, thirds, fourths, and then a higher note again. And the high note gets higher each time. So that's a nice little feature. Nice little feature. Yeah, I guess it's more of an accompaniment section, this, anyway, isn't it? The first thing that is more interesting here is we've not just got that from the clicky electric keyboard. What should we go? Electric? No. Ooh. We've got this kind of, this kind of thing, which sounds a little strange. Yeah, and it does sound strange, but that's what it's doing. When it finishes the first one, we get what's much more of a powerful figure. This, oh no, I clicked transpose. I meant to click octave. Come on, octave. We get that. That's our 3-3-2 rhythm again. 3-3-2. Quite powerful, and especially having it on that low sound. Just gives it a lot of bass, which is absent from most of the mix. It's just coming in at the end of the bars there, which is a fun feel. We still have the na 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 over the top, and that actually takes a lot of the strain. Because we haven't got our normal bass movement, we've lost the chords here. We're sort of just sat over that E flat. And we do that, but then we've got that bop 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 going in the next bar. So yeah, it's really just sat over an E flat pedal here. We don't normally have bass pedals in Aurora's music. It's only for 4 bars, so don't get het up. Don't think we've abandoned our melodic songwriting roots for just mood music slash house, jams. What am I saying? It's a little bit late. Then we get I become an animal. Let's hear it. Okay, yeah. So the I become an carries on as it would, but the I become an doesn't morph into it this time. It's I become an animal. So it just keeps on that low one. And then we get animal. This is a curious one. Okay. This melody has never used the C flat, actually, but it has used the F a whole lot. And here it uses it quite strongly. Animal. We've got so much E flat going on. Not that. That. So this animal. Feels like really a big punch in the face, and then it's repeated animal. Does it twice in your face. This yeah, real crunchy tone there. And that is when we get a C chord back in the bass as well. So our C comes back in. Now we still have the bob, bob, bob going on at the same time, so it arguably isn't in the bass. It's more like this. Oh, not quite that low. Wow. That's more like it. Oh, in fact, no, I am wrong. It does match. Okay, so yeah, no E flat pedal here. It matches. We change to C flat, then we get the D flat again, and then we get the E flat again. Okay, 6, 7. I've written 7, 7, but it's 6, 7, and then 1. Okay, and the bob, bob, bob moves with it. We get more of this one that we've heard over those two different chords, but when we get back to the 1, we get more of that again. Okay, lovely, that's making a lot of sense. Let's just talk about this last bit of melody. Hunting for an animal. Well, this is different again, isn't it? First time animal, second time animal, and then this last time, is it last time? Animal. Okay, so this time we keep on that B flat, we don't jump down. Animal. That last time there, we hold on the A flat for a moment before we go up, and we get this crunchy animal, which is fun. Again, the sustained fourth, or the added 11th to that chord. So that seems to be a common thing that we're getting there. Yeah, we don't get too much made of the dissonance between this one in the 7 chord. That doesn't happen quite as often as this one, or in fact even when we were on the A flat minor chord, we got that added 11th quite often. Here we've got an added 11th too, so that minor added 11th seems to be something uniting different sections of this song. Yeah, powerful just change of feel there. When we get this bomb, 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 suddenly we've lost quite a lot of the harmonic movement, and so it feels a little more mood-wise stable, while actually a little bit darker because we haven't got that bright major chord movement anymore. And then we get it, and it adds more drama again, but we again end waiting on the 1 chord. Now, here's our bridge for real.
Let me become an animal. Let me become an animal. 'Cause when you are an animal, you lose control.
Well, this is a new one. There's actually something I haven't written in there, which I've only just noticed, which is after 1, 2, 3, wop, wop, we do get a little bit of a wop, wop in the bass, but we don't get all 3 this time. We don't get dom, dom, dom. We get 1, 2, 3, bom, bom, and it's a little less clear as well. But most importantly here is actually that bass movement. It's no longer going up wop, 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 but it is giving us some fun. A flat, B flat, C flat, D flat. So for our pre-chorus section, we were going C flat, D flat, E flat. Okay, a rising figure. We're going up 1 note in the scale each time. Here we also do that, but we start on a different note and we go up 4 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. So because we have that extended rise, it really feels like it's going somewhere. We start on the A flat. Does that mean we're more in a we're more in the A flat Dorian mode again? Well, the melody will tell us that. We go A flat, B flat, C flat, D flat. So that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 would make a lot of sense, wouldn't it? 8 is actually extended over all of this. We get that E flat. Sometimes it fits the chord, sometimes it doesn't. Again, it's sort of held as a pedal here. That's quite unusual in Aurora's music. The melody then. Let me become an animal. Let me become an animal. So the melody repeats over a shorter amount of time. It's only 2 bars compared to 4 bars of the bass loop. Simple melody, very small range, and mostly just up and down this scale with one jump in it. Animal. Again, a different way of saying animal, different notes, very different to the previous ones. Animal. Lot of emphasis of the G flat and F here, okay? So that is the kind of play area of this A, but the A does not feel, sorry, A flat, but it does not feel comfortable, does it really? That doesn't feel like our rest place, especially because we move straight on to the B flat. Got a bit of harmony there as well. Harmony is really just following those bass notes up as well, just in a different octave. We've also got a kind of thing going on the offbeats here, and that's just again emphasizing our pedal, our E flat pedal. So it's not a root note. It's not a sorry, it is a root note, but it's not a bass pedal. It's sort of a mid mix pedal, and the bass is not doing a pedal, it's moving, and the melody is moving, but it's actually pretty simple texture compared to a lot of what goes on here. Maybe my least favorite part of this song is "You Lose Control," because it is the same bit of melody, but it's just cut off early, and it's cut off early for, let's say, a good reason, because we need to come in with "You're hunting for love," but it just feels a little bit perfunctory. It's a little rubbish. And we do again come in, yep, same way as usual with "Hunting for Love." We lose the bass for a bit there, which is fun, but we've still got the chords. 236, yeah, "If I Am Alone," very similar. Is it just that? Yeah, so we have one extra word this time. "If I am alone, you make me a stranger. Okay, but this time we don't get the same thing in the second part of the chorus. Let's hear this, 252. Okay. Straightforward thirds. Thirds the whole way in that part. Wow, that's very different. You know, we've talked about thirds, and when they're used extensively like this, it does have this more sort of heartstring pulling feel, right? It's a little more emotional, a little more passionate. And so in this third chorus, instead of "I'm an animal" or "I'm an animal," we're doing something a little more emotional. "I'm an animal." It's a little more like what we got in the pre-bridge bit. but it's yeah, it's something different. And in the thirds, yeah, you know, we're waiting on that C flat chord with a B flat at the top, major seventh, lush thing. We've come across that before. Suspension over the bar line there, opposite of our normal thing, but we do it on animal earlier. Animal. So it does suspend over. No, actually, that's an anticipation. Whereas this animal is a suspension because the notes come from a chord that they more or less fit to a chord that they don't, and then they resolve into that chord. Hunting for an animal. Same thing there. So it's sort of an inversion of our norm. Our norm is anticipation notes. This is suspensions here. And as that animal finishes, animal, love comes in. Okay, so it's as if it's giving us our next phrase again, hunting for love, killing for pleasure, but it doesn't. We get instead, I become an animal. We get that again, but now with a third harmony. Okay, so now it's clear, it's clearly triadic. We're not just following thirds kind of harmony. Those remain intact, but the extra note on top sort of makes them less meaningful, less you know, less like two conjoined souls, and more like a chorus, a big strong set of people. We still get the suspensions though. Except that one, animal, that comes as an anticipation. And then we do get into hunting for love and killing for pleasure as usual. That's all the same. Some more hello, and then we get our sort of post chorus bit. And this is where this album really starts to show that it's doing something different. Let's have a look. Where are we at? 3:15. Powerful. Or a come down. You could see it as a come down here because a lot of the texture disappears. We still have bom, 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 and we have this long held E pedal, longer by far than the previous one, like a whole 8 bars basically, although it does disappear somewhere in the 7th bar, but it's sort of held in the vocals. And we get that's still going on. Is still going on as well. Disappears just before the end. I'm an animal. This time we've got that whole jump down. So it's not I'm an animal. It's not I'm an animal. It's not I'm an animal. It's not an animal. It's not I'm an animal. It's I'm an animal. So this is like our normal chorus melody, and then we just jump down a whole 5th instead. So like we've had an anticipation of this moment the whole time in that pre-chorus. Finally, we have got it on animal here. Animal, which feels like the definitive one, and it's so interesting that it only occurs in this last section. Really cool way of composing. It's just one note different, and it's different in 4 different ways. You know, it reminds me of Prophet Song by Queen, where you get this kind of listen to the man, and then it's a different chord each time on the next man. Listen to the man, man. And sometimes it's like listen to the man, man. on. God, that's a strange, overly composed song, but it is really enjoyable. Really enjoyable. Ah, go and listen to that Prophet song by Queen. This is not that. This is a good song nonetheless. So animal, animal is going underneath this. Animal, animal. So that's just okay. So kind of strong in its own way, but simple. Just the held B flat there. Then it comes up. It comes up to the D flat and back down, but then back up. So it's not animal. This time it's animal. So this time they start to clash. They have a moment of that in the previous one. Hunting for interesting. But here, this is an extended one. Animal. Okay. We've gone back to that F one, and that lower harmony has come up. I become an animal. Okay, so it's up on the E flat. Animal. So now we've got that clash back again. Animal. An interesting moment there where, yeah, that we don't repeat animal, animal. We go animal, animal. Yeah, so I guess there's a difference between the first animal, which is on the beat, and the second one, which is off the beat. Animal, animal. And that one often has that melisma on it as well. So yeah, that's what's happening here. But for the first time, it's kind of this upwards melisma. Animal. Is that with the main melody? Let me just have another listen to that. It's actually not, is it? It's the lower harmony is doing that. So the melody is still animal, animal, and it's just that the lower harmony is going animal or animal. Right, so they're crossing over. Animal, animal, animal. But then it starts to get really nitty. Let's hear it again. This is quite strange what goes on here. We get this kind of clash of three voices, and then yeah, marching down. Hunting for an is our main melody still, but we get kind of hunting for an and hunting for an at the same time. So we get that kind of thing. But then those sort of dissipate and we get this low one coming in. Animal, animal, ho, ho. That's the most interesting one because it goes to begin with the melody. Hunting for an animal. Does it? Yes, there's an extra one that does that top line. Animal. Whereas the main melody still goes animal. Anyway, it goes with that top one to start with. Animal. But then animal. They do that. Okay? And so they're together on the A flat. Then they are apart. An A flat low, a B flat high, then they switch over, B flat low, A flat high, and then they switch back again. So they go from like a ninth apart to a seventh apart to a ninth apart. None of these are very consonant sounds. It doesn't sound good by itself, does it? That doesn't sound good. And then they finally match up again for that final ha ha, which is lucky. But yeah, it means that we get these interesting scrunches before that. Animal, animal, with this middle harmony as well. Animal, straightforward, but just adding quite needed stability to that chord. And then yeah, this next one, we get all those four notes, not really making much sense. And then it's even stranger when we get to this, which is the last animal that is said, is that's the middle one. Animal. And then we also get gosh. That's the top one. Animal. And then we get, oh yeah, animal. That's the top one. And then the main melody is still animal. And that's just fitting in all together, not with the other things. Okay. So this is, I didn't realize on listening to this that was what was going on, because it's fast and because a lot of the harmony is very consonant, very straightforward, chords matching together. Okay, some with added notes, but it's always clear what's going on. This last section sort of took me by surprise that we had these scrunches in there. But that is nonetheless what's going on. And it cleans up, yeah, just to that open fifth at the end. So dynamic and powerful, but just two separate notes. E flat, B flat. No need for a third to go major or minor. Just bah, ancient power. Yeah, and this is something that will continue. I'll say that. Let's see where it's going on the top tens then. I'm not really sure. We've got a good set of top tens here in most of these categories now, I think. So, what can we give it? Instrumentation is a curious one because, like, it's mostly synths. It's mostly synths, drums. Synths do sound good, and the vocals sound good. We have that thing, don't we? So that's something. But yeah, I don't think we can give it a place on instrumentation because it doesn't have. It does piano, but there's not the interesting piano that Forgotten Love has, or the harp that Forgotten Love has. So we're not going to give it that. I think texture, though, it plays so much with texture, and so I really think it deserves a place. I think, yeah, I think I'm going to put it higher than Forgotten Love in texture. But I think All This Soft Inside is still a bit more. Oh, my body is disagreeing with me. I saw Project Hail Mary today, and that voice just reminded me of Rocky and that. Structure. The structure is interesting. We do have a bridge, and the bridge is new material, but it does have a clear connection to the rest of the material. That's fun, and we don't get that bridge material anywhere else, so that's interesting. We have a sort of pre-bridge, sort of come down post-chorus, if you like, which is interesting, and then we have a post-final chorus as well. So I think there's something to be said for the structure. I think while Winterbird does have a little bit of coda on the end, I think that Winterbird, is Holmes really better than Winterbird's? Yes, because it has that interesting chorus relationship, doesn't it? Maybe we're just getting Winterbird off here. Poor old Winterbird. The harmony is pretty straightforward, but it is interesting how we have. Sorry, is it straightforward? The chords chosen are straightforward. We've basically got 4 chords. No, we've got 5 chords. We've got 5 chords of the key, and often they are extended. So I think we can give it something higher on harmony. It's got the same dorian aeolian relationship as Winterbird, doesn't it? Not quite as clear as in Winterbird, but with a little more bite in generally what's going on. Running with the Wolves is getting pushed off, even though it has a 7-note chord in it. There we are. That's what's happening. Melody. You know, there's so much going on in the melody here. There's some things which are structurally interesting. There are some things which are really confusing. The different sections have really different melodies to them. There are some really nice ones, and there are some maybe Orientalist ones. I don't want to put it over Runaway. I think that would be silly. I think undeniably, though, it's got a more interesting set of melodies than Under the Water. So I think that's where we're going. Wow, Soft Universe is not long for here, is it? It's got one place left on texture. Is Churchyard on here? Yeah, Churchyard has fairly high on instrumentation. Nice one. Yeah, and rhythm. Well, it's a dung 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 dung. Dum bom bom. Are there very many interesting rhythms to it? I would say no. Nothing as interesting as Warrior, anyway. So yeah, I don't think we'll give it a place for rhythm. There we go. It's not done badly. It's definitely not done badly. Maybe better than some people might think it should. Give me your, if you don't think it deserves these positions, you do tell me. We're not going. Let's get a new color in here. Let's get like a darker red that nonetheless is really, really red. Something like that, maybe. That might just be the same as It Happened Quiet and Gentle Earthquakes, but let's see. I think it's a little darker. Oh, writing in capitals. Okay. Yeah. Nice. There we go. Copy and paste. I'm just going to have a brief look at this now and see what the big hitters are. Because I feel like I rushed off last time without saying a prayer for the ones who have lost. We have lost. So yeah, All Is Soft Inside. In every single one, it's charted in every single one. It's just holding on in rhythm. It definitely won't be there by the end of the thing, but it's top in 2. It's top in instrumentation and structure. That's very impressive. Gentle Earthquakes is top in 1 and very close to top in 2. Yeah, but I mean, in comparison, All Is Soft Inside is really, really holding a very powerful place. Wisdom Cries, I think, is going to stay top of harmony maybe the whole way. We will see about that. But it's certainly, really difficult to dethrone. But it doesn't have any place in anything else. Infections of a Different Kind has 2 super high bits and nothing else. Queendom is top of rhythm at the moment, because of its real adherence to that da 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 da, which goes through all the different sections. It's a very strong rhythmic feature, but I think there's a good chance that rhythm will get a switch up as we go on here. And Runaway is really high in rhythm, and Runaway is holding on pretty well. It's in instrumentation, it's in texture, and it's in melody. Both of them, all of them, quite low. But it may well hold on. What's interesting there is that when Murder Song came in, it almost took the whole thing. But Murder Song hasn't held its places as well. Murder Song used to be second in rhythm and now it's 4th, whereas Runaway was first and now is second, and Murder Song used to be first in all the other categories. So maybe this just shows that Aurora does more with the other categories than she does with rhythm. She doesn't do as many complicated things with rhythm, and Runaway really has one of those special things. It has that metric modulation to it. Queendom does do something specific, and while we've had a bit of that in Animal here, it's nowhere near as like definitive a statement. A lot of the sections in this don't really have a very strong rhythmic statement. It's mainly the chorus which does. Okay, yeah, what else have we got? Blackwater Lilies is doing pretty well in 3 categories: structure, harmony, and melody. Nothing wrong with that. Melody second highest, arguably highest. That's good. It Happened Quiet is actually still pretty present. That's cool. Yeah, harmony and melody, that's going to hang on there for a good while. And it's also in instrumentation, and arguably should be higher in instrumentation, but I've got Under the Water higher in instrumentation. And Under the Water is, I think, okay, so yeah, we've got, I think, 3 in every category still. Under the Water is just hanging on in melody. But yeah, Under the Water, Murder Song, and All Is Soft Inside, I think, are the only ones in all the categories. It Happened Quiet is very close, but it doesn't have anything in rhythm, which arguably is unfair because it is in 3, which is an unusual meter for AURORA. But there we are. It's not interesting by itself, I suppose. Oh, hey, Wisdom Cries does actually have a structure placement. Yeah, that makes sense, because its structure is unique and linear, and that's interesting. While not actually being that enjoyable, nonetheless, it does deserve a place there. Forgotten Love is doing well in texture and almost off in the other stuff. I imagine that texture one will stay on for a fair amount of time. Winterbird, I feel, has been the victim of recency bias, because it's been a while since I've listened to Winterbird. There's a good chance that Winterbird deserves to be higher in instrumentation and texture, because I think those things it's really good at, and it's just fallen off in structure, and that seems a little harsh. But I think looking at the rest of the structure things, Through the Eyes of a Child is maybe the only one that I'm a little, it's sort of fair, because it has that big bit on the end, which is very powerful. Yeah, Winterbird is still in harmony. I think there's a chance that will go quite quickly, but maybe not in the next few songs. What else have we got? What's that? Oh, Churchyard. Yeah, Churchyard holding some okay placements. 6th in rhythm. May well stay there for a while. And that's so funny though. That's just the chugga 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 chugga. That doesn't really deserve much, does it? Whatever. Churchyard is a good song. It's simple, but it's enjoyable. Runaway, yep, we've already talked about. Little Boy in the Grass, I think is great, but is barely holding on here. Yeah, melody, I have a lot of respect for its melody. It maybe is a little like, of the earliest AURORA songs, Runaway is the one that everyone cares about. Running with the Wolves has still 1 placement here. Little Boy in the Grass does get overlooked a bit, but it does have some really powerful stuff in it. Yeah, and I mean, maybe even texturally it sort of deserves a place, because it has those great drums in it, and for the early AURORA stuff, that's the pinnacle of what's going on there. Although I have put Runaway higher, and that's because of its sort of vast textural change across its runtime, which is fair. Warrior has 2 very low placements. Home has a high harmony placement, and that's fair because it does have that really cool what's that then? Yeah. whatever. Yeah, it does deserve it. I'm not sure it massively deserves the structure because it's a curious one. It doesn't feel enjoyable, the structure of Home, but it does do something unique because it has a chorus that's cut in half, and then we only hear the second half later on, which none of these other songs have. Animal has the opposite of that, which is that it is a chorus that is extended in the final time rather than shortened, and that's more common, so I don't think we can put it as high in structure. Yeah, I don't know how long it's going to hold on. I guess, yeah, texture. It's going to hold on in texture for a while. I think that's fair. There's so many different things coming in and out, and I think the difference between the first, like, all the different sections to begin with, that can be quite a crude thing, getting very big differences between sections, but I think it handles it pretty well. And then we've lost basically everything else, haven't we? In fact, have we lost it? Okay, the soft universe is just clinging on, but yeah, so we've lost Awakening, Puppet. We've lost Under Stars, which is a bit sad. We've lost In Boxes, which is very sad. I was really sad when Boxes fell off in harmony, and I'm still questioning that. It's just not as good, is it? Like the harmony isn't. Arguably it is. Arguably it's better than Little Boy in the Grass in harmony. Whatever. We've not got Conqueror. That's not a massive surprise, I suppose. We've not got Lucky. Oh yeah, we do. We do have Lucky in melody, just there. High placement in melody, and that's it. That's it. What else? Then we get Winterbird. We got that. We don't have I Went Too Far. That's not a surprise. Not really a loss. We do still have Home. We do still have Warrior. We do still have Under the Water and Wisdom Cries and Blackwater Lilies. Is there anything that's dropped off from the second album? No, we've still got all of those. They've at least got one placement left. Soft Universe is barely hanging on. But yeah, all 8 tracks there are still on. And we've lost then, Conqueror, I Went Too Far. Even Through the Eyes of a Child is still on here. I feel like there's something else I'm missing. Yeah, Warrior's not going to be on long, but it's, yeah, okay, so it's the earliest 3 with In Boxes off the first thing. We've still got Running with the Wolves in one category. So we've only really lost like 5 overall. 3, 4, Conqueror, and I Went Too Far. 6. I think we've lost 6, which is kind of a surprisingly small amount because we're on the 27th here. So the idea that 21 of these all have something that's in the top 10 of Aurora songs, that's good going. That's really it's a surprising thing, isn't it? You wouldn't expect the best things about music to be spread across such a wide variety, but there we are. That's what seems to have happened so far, at least. Hopefully we don't get suddenly someone's coming in and going, yep, we're gonna take all these and everything else is bye-bye. And likewise, I hope we don't suddenly get lots of tracks which don't even chart or chart in one category. We're going to get, no doubt, more of that because as we get on, there aren't going to be that many places up for grabs. There are going to be songs that are insurmountable. There are going to be songs that are just too good in their one particular field to be plagued by, other ones doing similarly well. At least this is what I expect. There's a chance that actually it will be the opposite, and that we will get a really cool selection, and maybe the rhythm section will be full of totally different songs to the melody section. We will see. We will see. Yeah, we've got 3 albums left, and tomorrow, who I might get tickets to see in the Roundhouse, but I am debating about that. If I can rope some friends in, I might well go if they've not already gone. Anyway, have a great day, have a great life. See you soon. Bye bye.